All right, so welcome back to another episode of Finding Your Way with Tanya and Lori. So today we have our first guest, and we are super excited. For those of you that maybe have followed us before or have heard our very first podcast, Kate Butler is who I mentioned that really invited me. I've known Kate for years in our former lives and invited me to the retreat that I scooped Lori up and made her go with me. And it was really where our journey began. So it is very fitting that Kate is our first guest for our podcast.
Yeah, so I get the distinct pleasure of introducing y'all formally to Kate. So I'm going to read it just so that I do not mess any of this up because she is power-packed, let's say. So Kate Butler is a #1 international best-selling award-winning author and speaker, TV expert, and personality. As a certified professional success coach, she offers dynamic live and digital programs, creating transformational experiences to ultimately help clients reach their greatest potential and live out their dreams, including becoming a best-selling author through her mentorship. Kate believes in learning the tools to help create those made-for moments in your life. Kate's motto is, you know what you're born for, now it's time to show up for the life you're meant for. So that is perfectly said, Kate, and we are so glad you're here.
I love the two of you. It is so fun, so super fun to be here. I have to say that bio showed up in an article that was recently published that I had the pleasure of being included in, and my daughter read the article and she was like, "Mom, that is a great motto." It's like, if I have your approval, I'm doing something right. She's 11, so I'm like, okay, I'm in it to win it here. So I got a kick out of that listening to it back again. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we're excited. You know, what our podcast really is designed for is helping folks get from where they are to where they want to be. And you were instrumental in getting that kickoff for us. And so we're super excited to share you with our listeners, all your bits and nuggets. I mean, Lori and I talk daily about there are things that we learned in the very beginning that we use every single day. And so we're excited about kind of bringing your genius to the table for our listeners and leaving them not only getting to know you better, but also with some nuggets they can use in their lives to start moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the platform that you all are creating for people. And I just think that it's so valuable to have one place to go, to access all of that information that can be something so small, but when done consistently, stacking in the right direction can really be transformational. I remember, Tanya, I remember the moment we met, and then I remember the moment that we re-met again, right? Reconnected. And that was the moment that you also brought Lori into my life, right? And it was such a magical weekend on so many levels. And I think what really has me so deeply connected to this work is that I have been in the place where some people enter into my world. Does that make sense? So I really understand how to meet people where they are. And I'm sure you both have talked about your journeys, or you'll continue to, throughout your podcast. And they're both absolutely different and fascinating journeys of where you did start, right? And where you wanted to go and how you did get there. Again, both absolutely transformational and fascinating journeys that both of you have. And so I find myself, being in that exact same position where, I recognized in my life that, I'll never forget this one moment up in the nursery, rocking my daughter to sleep. And I was reading these bedtime stories, and people gave a lot of books at my baby shower and things of that nature. And I collected books. I wanted to be that mom that read every night. And I can't say it happened every night, but this one particular night I was reading the bedtime story. And I would always change the story because I was like, I don't really agree with everything this is saying. I mentioned that my daughter's 11 now. She's my oldest, and I have 2 kids, and my other daughter's 9. But 11 years ago, when I had Bella, there weren't all these inspirational children's books that are out today, right? It just really wasn't as common. It wasn't as mainstream as we, have the luxury of clicking into today. And so I would change the story because I was like, this isn't what I want to share with my daughter. This isn't really the information that I want to seed into her mind, even though she was just a baby at the time, right? And as I began changing these stories and, really kind of, I was connecting what I wanted to infuse into her as a baby, I was thinking to myself, wow, Kate, wow, because you know that so much is possible for this human, right? You really truly believe that she can do anything that she puts her mind to. You really truly can see her unlimited potential, but you are not stepping up and stepping into that for your own life. So no matter what you say to her, if you are not actually doing that, there is a huge disconnect in what you were saying versus what you were showing her. And I'll never forget that moment. It was like one of those moments where it's like, once you know it, you can't unknow it anymore. And it changed everything for me. I was self-sabotaging to a very serious degree at that point in my life. And I realized now I was doing it because I was in a very deep postpartum depression, which no one talked about. I didn't even know that I was in a depression at that time in my life. And so once that clicked for me, and I started taking some of these basic steps that I know you've talked about in the first episode, and you'll continue to talk about through this beautiful series of podcasts that you're doing, I began to put these basic steps into practice. And once I started stacking in a different direction, it really did begin to shift things in my life. And now looking back, 11 years later, my life looks completely different in every single area. And I'm really grateful for that because I actually like what I see now.
Absolutely. And I think for us, that's kind of our story too, right, Lori? I mean, that's kind of where we started.
Yeah, there were so many nuggets you just dropped on our listeners in that. One being, it's Tanya and I talk about this all the time, the mainstream, how it, like gratitude and meditation and all of these tools that we have in our toolbox and these daily practices that we do. Only even 5 years ago, these were not mainstream things that people were talking about or that you had access to. And so we identify with that so much. And then the other thing is you are really the person that taught us about the integration into your daily practice. I think Tanya and I grew by leaps and bounds just from doing that. Like for some reason, God placed you in our life 6 years, I think it was 6 years ago now, placed you in our life, and we were able to hear you and receive the information that you had to offer us that day. And we started putting those things, we didn't know what we were doing, but we were just doing it every single day. And exactly like you're just talking about, when you start stacking things that become habits and you create these positive habits, where instead of these sort of bad habits that we were doing that weren't leading to the life that we wanted. So absolutely, we feel like a little bit that you are a mentor, but it's like our paths are so similar, that you had maybe gone through the same thing in a different way, a little bit ahead of us. And so therefore we see you as that mentor because now we're like, oh, well, this worked for Kate. Let's try that and see if that worked too. And so we're hoping to be that for other people too. As people listen to us, is how do we start sharing that it is doable? It's not that hard. It's not necessarily simple, but it's doable and it's feasible for everybody.
Well, and it's that, and it is that stacking. It is the taking the one tool at a time, figuring out what works, making that one a habit, and adding the next and adding the next. And so we've talked about in a couple of prior episodes, we've talked about affirmations. That was one of the things we learned in the retreat with you that was totally Greek to me. I had no idea what it was. And I've told the story about you had us write 4 or 5 on index cards, and they stayed in my car with me for 3 years. And I read them every time I got in and every time I got out. But that's how I created the habit. We've talked about gratitude. We've talked about switching your self-talk and your outward talk, and how that has really, really changed. And that's like working a muscle. And so, as we talk about the things that we started with very early on, putting those those things into practice has really been where the rubber meets the road and where we've seen the most change, is making those habits.
So yeah, I mean, this is amazing. What a great conversation. First of all, there's so many things to unpack here, right? Not only is it doable to do these things, right, but it truly is all possible. I'll never forget when I got the courage to update my website and my tagline was, "It's all possible, ask me how." It probably took me like 8 years in business to be able to update that and feel confident about it, right? But I really truly believed it that entire time. And I was like, I'm going for it because I really truly believe it is all possible. My mentor, Patty Aubrey, whispered that in my ear the first weekend that I met her. And I came back from that hug that we were in and I looked at her like she was nuts, right? I was not in any position in my life to be believing that anything was really possible. But what I am is somebody who will try something once, right? And so I thought to myself, well, look, it is working for a lot of people in this room that I was with. I said, so they tell me if I do something for 30 days, it's going to change my life. So I'm going to go ahead and test this, right? Like I'm a tester. So I was like, okay, I'm going to test it. And I started testing just a couple simple practices, meditation, gratitude, right? The intention statements or affirmations that you're discussing, right? And these simple things that I said, yeah, I can read an index card, right? I can sit for 5 minutes, right? I can give gratitude each night and talk with my kids about what we're grateful for at the dinner table or whatever it was. I can do these things. They're accessible to me. Now, let me try to do them for 30 days and see if this magical land that everybody's talking about really exists, right? And it didn't even take 30 days before things began to shift. So I continued. And what I did was each 7 days, I chose to renew it. I said, is this working? Does it make me feel better, right? Our emotions are our indicator whether we are on track or off track. So if I didn't feel good, then my emotions were indicating that I am not on my soul's path. And if my emotions are indicating that I am lit up inside, that I am feeling really good, that I'm starting to feel fulfilled, then all of a sudden I get this light bulb that says, yes, you are on track. It's one step closer to what you were meant for, why you were here, what you were born to do. We all have this deep down, beautiful space within us that is just absolutely unscathed. And that beautiful place that is protected by God, in my opinion, that's my belief, and whatever your higher power language is, this is protected by the grace of God, protected by your higher power. And when you choose to go in and you choose to look into that place, that beautiful, untouched place in your soul, you know exactly what you are here to do. You know exactly what you were meant for. And when you allow yourself to go there, it all starts to click because it's literally why you are here. But the steps, the practical steps that you all are talking about along the way are what helps us get to that place, what helps us clear out the clutter and the junk and the drama and the negativity, right? And it allows us to get up super clean, super focused, super on track. And then all of a sudden things start to shift. And this is what people talk about alignment. This is alignment. This is getting into alignment with why we're here, right? So I love what you guys are saying about all this. It's absolutely possible. It's available for everyone. And these simple steps that we can take along the way really allow us to show up fully as who we are meant to be.
And thinking about where we were at that time, we had to get rid of that clutter to get to that space. And so one of the things, I don't know if you know this, but one of the things you had us do, we continued to work with Kate after the retreat that we always talk about. But one of the things you had us do was get in almost like a space with other people and talk about our lives as if we were living 5 years from now, and this whole future visioning thing, which I'm going to tell you is super uncomfortable when you have not ever done that before. And I struggled with that for a long time. And now today I can pick up the phone and call Tanya and our whole conversation can be as if we're 5 years in the future. So it is sort of like Tanya said, a muscle, but I wonder if you wouldn't share that. That was something that you gave us as a takeaway when we came to you at that retreat. And it really does, you know, once you've sort of done some of the other things and you're at that space where you're trying to create your future and the better, like it really helps you get clear on what that better looks like for you.
Yeah, I love the way you just put that, Lori. Thank you so much. You know, it's like when we're uncomfortable, when we're failing, when we are feeling a little itchy in our skin, like those are the moments that we really need to dig into, right? Like when my daughters, we don't talk about gratitude at the kitchen table anymore. It's incorporated in our everyday life. But now the question is, where did you fail today? Like, I want my kids to tell me that, because if you didn't fail today, then you didn't push, right? Like you didn't try something new, like you didn't go to the edge, right? Because life is all about growth, and we can't grow unless we're getting into those uncomfortable moments that you described, Lori. And it is super uncomfortable to do future visioning at first, right? But I just kind of want to set the tone for why would it be worth it, right? Why would it be worth it to get that uncomfortable? And this is really why I believe it is worth it. And so, you know, with the future visioning, this is almost like affirmations on steroids or something, right? Like it is like affirmations ignited times 10, times 100, whatever you want to say, right? It's really, really powerful, energy focused, you know, manifesting, you know, all happening at the same time. And so I want to paint the picture and then tell you what it is. When we choose something, when we get clear on a vision, when we set a goal, we are setting a train in motion, okay? We are signaling to the universe, this is what I want. I'm going to put it on my Christmas list. I'm going to write this, you know, on my want list to the universe, right? If I had 3 wishes, this is what they are. The second we put out a goal, a thought, a clear vision, the universe does not question what we ask for. It only matches it. So the second we put out that thought, write it down to the second power, speak it out, like Lori said, and Tanya and her were both discussing, right? Speaking it to one another, to the third power, right? Each time you do these things, they get more powerful to the universe. The universe is now, your train has taken off, and the universe is ready to go. You're on that train and it's happening for you. But then what happens is we get into this everyday life, right? We get into the muck, we get into the, you know, clutter that we talked about before and all this other, just life, right? Human life, things that are, I'm not saying these are bad things. I'm saying these are things that we all encounter. So when our train takes off, and then we get into, let's say we got to go to work. We're sitting in our affirmations. I am so happy and grateful to be in financial freedom and work from home and do all these amazing things and sit by the pool all day and meditate, and I want to be a yoga teacher. And then you have to get in your car and drive to your corporate job, which is none of those things that you just said on your affirmation card. Now all of a sudden you have another train taking off this way. So now what happens? We have a train going to the right, full speed. Now we have a train going to the left, full speed. And you're stuck here in the middle going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Because your reality right now does not match the clear vision that you put out for yourself. So now all of a sudden you are teetering back and forth. What Lori is explaining here in the future visioning, and also these other supporting tools, it is an opportunity for you to put more power in the train that is going the direction that you would like. So with future visioning, it's an opportunity every single day to not only have that train take off from the station, but it is actually firing up this train to continue on, to go at 100 miles per hour, because you are showing the train exactly where you're going. And not only today, not only this year, but in the future, in 3, 5, maybe even 10 years from now. You get to choose where you go each day, but you are showing a very clear direction to that train, and you're pouring that power into it every single day when you do this consistently, right? So I have a video and I have a workbook. I have all the things to show you exactly how to do this. Absolutely complimentary. This is the one tool that if I had to pick besides meditation, this is the one tool that completely changed my life. And so I have put together a whole, basically like kind of mini program, if you will, around this, because I want every single person to access this. And I really encourage you to give it a shot. For those of the people who are new to the journey, you mentioned this a few times, right? We have this 30-day Pathway to Miracles program as well. And what that is, it's almost like everything that we did in that first retreat, Lori and Tanya. And what we did was we broke it down into bite-sized pieces so that every morning in your inbox, you get a 5-minute, 7-minute, 10-minute, maybe 12-minute video that gives you some inspiration or a new tool or a new practice. And we talk about it in a miracle language, because what happened, Lori, when you said you were both able to receive in that retreat, that was a miracle moment. That was by the grace of God. It opened up and we were able to connect. You were able to receive. I was able to be the conduit to deliver it to you. All of those miracles happened. And so the Pathway to Miracles really sets up the stacking that we are talking about with very simple, quick, applicable tools. But after 30 days, it gives you the structure for that 30 days we talked about. And it allows you to really have that opening for massive change in your life. So thank you both so much for allowing me to share all of that. I just obviously get so excited. I could go forever.
and I think even in the Pathways to Miracles, when, we could hear you, but it is not, your information you provided in that workshop to us was not the first time we've heard some of it. And so it was the first time we could actually hear it. We processed it. And then the follow-up, we did the Pathways to Miracles with you for that 30 days, which reinforced everything we had done. And it was amazing. And it was, again, those small baby steps. It wasn't overwhelming. When you're just getting started, focusing something on 45 minutes to an hour, there's not enough self-love. There wasn't for me, and self-respect for myself to give myself that amount of time. What I had done is said, okay, I might like myself enough to give myself 5 minutes or 10 minutes of me time. And then, now that we have evolved, I can give myself the hour or two or the day or the things that I know I need. But getting started, that was a great beginner program for us, because it really did. It did make me feel guilty about taking that time away from work or my kids or my responsibilities, but it filled me up and gave me something every single day to put into practice and to put into play that was easy and manageable for me, for sure. And so being able to start that was definitely how we came from out of the retreat and into putting everything into practice.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are so honored that you're our first guest on our little podcast we've got going. We could not have thought of a better guest to have, because we just love you so much and you've just changed our lives for the better. And we will be forever grateful for that.
So if you have enjoyed us, please check Kate out. She's amazing. She's out there everywhere. So you can find her all over our stuff. We'll post everything down in the show notes for you guys to contact her. So Kate, anything else you want to close with?
I just want to thank you both so much. It's honestly always such a joy and honor to be in both of your spaces. Lori and Tanya, you both are such bright lights bringing so much joy and change to so many people. Whoever you touch, you inspire, right? It really, truly is such a gift that both of you have. So I'm honored to be here with both of you today. And I thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And thanks for tuning in to this episode.